Imagine a place where simply crossing a valley could take you to a village with an entirely different language. A world where over 800 languages thrive side by side. Welcome to Papua New Guinea, the world's most linguistically diverse nation. But how did this incredible diversity come to be? And what role has the country's wild, isolated geography played in preserving it against all odds? Today, we'll dive into the story of Papua New Guinea, where mountains, rivers, and traditions have safeguarded languages for thousands of years. Stay with us to uncover why most of these languages still thrive today. First, we'll take a brief look at the history of Papua New Guinea to understand its rich linguistics and cultural diversity. Papua New Guinea is one of the most culturally diverse countries in the world, with a history that is as complex and varied as its people. PNG's history dates back tens of thousands of years, with archaeological evidence of human settlements going back around 50,000 years. These early inhabitants were among the first to settle on the island, which provided them with fertile land and natural resources that allowed their communities to grow and evolve independently over millennia. The region was initially populated by hunter-gatherers, who later developed complex agricultural societies. By around 9,000 years ago, these early settlers had begun farming, cultivating crops like yams and bananas that are still staples today. PNG's population remained relatively isolated until European contact in the 16th century, when Spanish and Portuguese explorers first sighted the island. However, it wasn't until the 19th century that Europeans established a more permanent presence, with Germany and the United Kingdom eventually colonizing different parts of the island. The southern half, known as Papua, became a British protectorate in 1884, while the northern region, called New Guinea, was controlled by Germany. After World War I, Australia took over administration of New Guinea under a League of Nations mandate. During World War II, the island was a critical battleground, and much of its infrastructure was heavily impacted. Papua New Guinea finally regained full independence from Australia in 1975. Since then, it has functioned as a constitutional democracy, though it faces numerous social and economic challenges, including political instability, limited infrastructure, and high poverty rates. Today, with a population of approximately 8.9 million and around 840 distinct languages spoken, Papua New Guinea is a linguistic marvel. The country's incredible cultural diversity is represented in over 1,000 ethnic groups, each with unique customs and traditions. Its capital, Port Moresby, is home to around 400,000 people, but many citizens live in remote, rural areas with limited access to urban amenities. Now that we understand the historical context, let's explore how Papua New Guinea's unique geography has preserved its linguistic diversity. Papua New Guinea's landscape is filled with geographical barriers that have played a pivotal role in shaping its language diversity. The rugged terrain includes steep mountain ranges, dense rainforests, and deep valleys, which have effectively isolated communities. This isolation means that people living in one valley may rarely, if ever, interact with those on the other side of a mountain, even if they're only a few miles apart. These natural separations prevented languages from merging, allowing unique dialects and entirely new languages to flourish independently. In particular, the Central Range, a massive mountain chain that spans the entire length of the country, has created countless microenvironments and contributed to the formation of distinct linguistic groups. For instance, the Korowai and Dani people live in areas that are nearly inaccessible due to high peaks and dense forests. The combination of topography and vegetation created a strong physical boundary, which, in turn, allowed these groups to develop their own languages and cultural practices. In the highlands region, tribes are separated by mountains, rivers, and thick forests. Here, groups such as the Hulu, Enga, and Chimbu developed languages with little to no outside influence. These languages reflect their respective environments, agricultural practices, and belief systems, each deeply connected to the land they inhabit. Furthermore, the Sepik River Basin, one of the longest river systems in the world, has historically provided another form of isolation. People living along the Sepik have developed languages and customs that are distinct from the inland communities. With each bend of the river, languages and dialects change as different tribes have evolved in isolation from one another. Papua New Guinea's highest mountain, Mount Wilhelm stands at 4,509 meters above sea level. The country also has more than 600 islands, each promoting unique cultures and dialects. This combination of isolated land masses and difficult terrain is rare globally, helping protect linguistic diversity that would otherwise have been eroded by interaction and cultural exchange. But while geography created the physical conditions for protecting and preserving these languages, it's the social customs and traditions of the people that truly kept these languages alive. Papua New Guinea's unique social and cultural framework has been essential in actively preserving languages. In Papua New Guinea, language is more than just a means of communication. It's a source of identity and also seen as a sacred inheritance from ancestors. Many communities have developed complex social systems that revolve around the use of their native language, often embedded in rituals, storytelling, and daily practices. The oral tradition is particularly strong in Papua New Guinea. Since most indigenous languages do not have a written form, elders play a crucial role in teaching language and cultural values to younger generations through spoken word. This oral passing down of knowledge has kept languages vibrant and adaptable, allowing each generation to inherit the wisdom of the past. A typical example of cultural preservation is the Hulu people of the Highlands, who perform elaborate dances and ceremonies during which their language, Huli, is prominently used. These events reinforce community bonds and promote a sense of identity, with language as a cornerstone of cultural pride. Such traditions mean the Huli language is not only preserved, but celebrated as a living, evolving form of expression. Approximately 80 to 85% of Papua New Guinea's population resides in rural areas with limited exposure to outside languages and influences. This rural lifestyle inherently protects traditional practices, which strengthens language preservation efforts. Furthermore, about 90% of people speak at least one indigenous language, making it an integral part of daily life. Language in Papua New Guinea is also linked to land and spirituality. Each tribe's language is intertwined with its perception of nature, the spirit world, and its role in the environment. Many languages have unique words or phrases tied to local flora, fauna, or sacred places, embodying a worldview deeply rooted in respect for the natural world. However, as Papua New Guinea's people adapt to modern challenges, many of these languages are now at risk. While Papua New Guinea's geography and culture helped its languages survive for centuries, modern challenges are now putting them at risk. Now, let's explore the modern challenges facing language survival in PNG. Urbanization is one of the primary factors driving language endangerment, as more people move to cities like Port Moresby and Lae in search of jobs and education. In urban centers, English and Tok Pisin are the dominant languages, while indigenous languages become less relevant in everyday life. The spread of English through schools, work, and media, coupled with Tok Pisin's role as a national language, is creating a generation of young people who may be fluent in only a few of the country's 800 languages. In some cases, children are no longer learning their parents' native tongues, leading to a steady decline in language transmission. UNESCO has classified nearly 300 of Papua New Guinea's languages as endangered, with many on the brink of extinction as they are spoken by only a handful of elderly people. Government policy also presents challenges, as there is limited institutional support for preserving indigenous languages. While some schools offer programs to teach local languages, these efforts are few and far between. The lack of a standardized written system for many languages makes it harder to create learning materials or documentation. In communities along the Gulf of Papua in the Highlands, some languages now have fewer than 100 speakers, making them critically endangered. Without immediate action to document and revitalize these languages, they may soon vanish within a generation. In response to the risks facing Papua New Guinea's languages, various projects have been launched to document and revive endangered tongues. Linguists, non-profits, and local organizations are working together to create records of these languages before they disappear forever. So, what are some of these efforts and projects? One of the most notable efforts is the PNG Language Documentation Project, which aims to record languages through audio, video, and written materials. This project collaborates with local speakers to create dictionaries, grammar guides, and story collections, ensuring that languages have a chance to survive, even if they are no longer spoken daily. The Mason language, spoken in the Oro province, is one example of a language preservation success. Through a community-driven initiative, the Mason people have recorded traditional stories and cultural practices in their language, creating valuable resources for future generations. This initiative also engages young Mason speakers, encouraging them to learn and take pride in their language. Digital tools are also playing a role in language preservation. Some tribes have developed mobile apps and websites to help younger generations learn indigenous languages. Radio programs broadcast in local languages are another method used to keep the spoken word alive, especially in remote areas where access to the internet is limited. The Linguistic Society of Papua New Guinea estimates that over 150 languages have been documented in the past 2 decades, but over 600 remain undocumented. While progress is being made, the scale of the challenge is immense. These preservation projects represent a beacon of hope, showing that there is a genuine desire within Papua New Guinea to maintain its linguistic heritage. Yet, the work is far from over. The challenge lies in balancing the demands of modern society with the need to keep traditional language and cultures alive. For this reason, more funding and attention is needed to scale up these efforts, ensuring that each of Papua New Guinea's unique languages is preserved for future generations. Despite these efforts, the road to preservation is long, and questions remain about the future of language diversity in Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea's journey to protect its linguistic diversity is as complex as the landscape that fostered it. Geography, social customs, and cultural identity have all played vital roles in allowing over 800 languages to thrive in one of the world's most diverse linguistic environments. However, the pressures of modernization, urbanization, and a globalized world threaten this diversity. While preservation projects are a step in the right direction, the future depends on a collective commitment to safeguard these languages. Papua New Guinea's story is not just one of language preservation, but a reminder of the importance of cultural diversity in our interconnected world. That wraps up our journey through Papua New Guinea's one-of-a-kind linguistic landscape, where mountains, rivers, and tradition have helped preserve an astonishing array of languages. But can these languages continue to flourish in a rapidly changing world? Only time will tell. Let us know in the comments if you think these ancient tongues can withstand the test of time. And if this story inspired you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most unique stories.